Welcome to another episode of the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday night live on the GSMC Sports Network, the GSMC Podcasting Network on YouTube exclusively, 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Eastern. Here to talk about the greatest thing in the world, professional wrestling. Hope you guys had an amazing weekend. Hope you guys are gearing up toward another grueling Monday through Friday, but it's okay. It's okay. We have a whole bunch of professional wrestling shows. Monday Night RAW. Tuesday, we're going to have some WWE NXT Roadblock. Wednesday, Dynamite. Thursday, TNA Ring of Honor. And Friday, once again, Friday, we're going to have our WWE SmackDown. So, hey, do not look so grim back there. But, you know, today is today. Hope you guys had an amazing, blessed weekend. Had a good time. A lot of things going down in the sports world. You know, a lot of free agents signing in the NFL. But, you know, we're going to talk about some professional wrestling. So today, we're going to talk about some WWE Monday Night Raw. We're going to kick off with that. I did actually end up watching the show around 5 o'clock, streaming live on Netflix, so I caught that. We're going to talk about that in our first segment. Second segment, we have AEW Revolution. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cough. We have AEW Revolution reactions. I'm going to give you, some of my, takes on the matches, the overall product, and, basically, some grades to give a good old Tony Khan. Then we're going to talk about Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns in our third segment. We're going to talk about what's Roman Reigns' plans heading toward WrestleMania. In our fourth segment, we got MJF signing a lucrative $15 million plus contract with All Elite Wrestling. So we're going to talk about that. In our fifth and final segment, we're going to talk about some WWE Evolve, which was on Wednesday. It's an hour show, so I was able to kind of pay attention to, jot down some notes, look at some future WWE superstars that will, pretty soon they will be, a part of the main roster or on WWE NXT. So we're going to get into that. We have a jam-packed show, so let's not wait too long to get it started. But before we do any of that, whether if you have a burning question or a hot take in terms of the world of professional wrestling, here at the GSMC Sports Network, we do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity, 1,010%. But in terms of talking sports, we all get it. It's understandable. There's going to be some criticisms. There's going to be some, some disagreements with, what the host is, trying to say, which is all good. It's already gravy. It's already water under the bridge. Just want to make sure you guys feel absolutely 1,010%. Do not be shy. Drop your thoughts inside that chat right there. And if you really want to make sure your comment, question, or concern gets noticed, why not use that super chat? Go ahead and hit up that $sign, which guarantees anything you guys put inside that chat box is going to be talked about, featured, maybe even debated about, or maybe even take a spot of a segment on the show, 1,010%. So do not be too shy. Plus, it's a great way to keep the podcast, keep the network going. Obviously, we definitely do depend on a lot of you guys' support, and you guys get to subscribe to some free sports content that you can get on a day-to-day basis without paying for, ESPN Plus, without paying for, YouTube TV. Well, YouTube TV is actually pretty cool. I'm, actually am subscribed to some YouTube TV. Dish. Is Dish even around nowadays? DirecTV, Spectrum, all the above, whatever we talk about it here on this show, 1,010%. Also on this network, we are super grateful for each and every one of you guys who joins us here daily on the GSMC Sports Network. So do not regret being a part of something absolutely badass and something pretty awesome. Be a part of our bloodline here at the GSMC Sports Network. Your support makes all the difference. So let's keep the conversation going. Let's get this party started. Send in those super chats, those super stickers, because you guys are super awesome, and together we will make sure this podcast is bigger, better, and stronger than ever. Once again, if the super chat is not your thing, go ahead and hit up that tips and donations link at the gsmcpodcast.net. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. Just remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Follow the show, follow the network, and your life and your love and your whatever will do no wrong. Your dreams will come true, of course. If your dreams, in this case, is to consume more professional wrestling topics. So, I'm your man. I'm your man, 1,010%. Why don't you trust in me and, smash that subscribe, hit that like button, and be like, this guy right here, Eric Rodriguez, my favorite wrestling fan, he just gets it. Anyways, moving on, we have our first segment. We had WWE Monday Night Raw live tonight at Madison Square Garden, the mecca of professional wrestling, MSG, the home of the New York Knicks and the New York Rangers. We kicked off with some Jey Uso taking on Grayson Waller. It was cool to see, Uso start to build up some momentum heading toward WrestleMania with the spear, for the momentum win theory. Of course, he attacks. And, it kind of got to the point where I was like, you know what, it would have been... and then, of course, later, you had Gunther come out with the chokehold, and, he choked out the number one contender for the WWE World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania, Jey Uso. So when Gunther came out, I kind of thought there was going to be, I thought we were going to get a little bit of American Alpha or Alpha Academy come out and, kind of help out Jey Uso, who helped them out last week, but we didn't get that. It would have been interesting to kind of have you had A-Town Down Under, take out Jey Uso, and Jey Uso helped out Otis and Akira Tozawa last week. Tozawa, Otis come out to help out Jey Uso this week, and then then Gunther comes out. Maybe you have like a 3-on-3 match next week on Monday Night Raw, or maybe later on. But of course, the night was overfilled. You had Gunther choke him out, which is exactly what I wanted. Which is exactly what the WWE universe needs at this point, is for Gunther to kind of seem like this overall unstoppable force. He's gonna do anything in his power to win. Because right now, and I know a lot of people might disagree with me, but, based on the momentum that Jey Uso has and his Royal Rumble win and his damn near close win at WWE Saturday Night's main event, Jey Uso kind of looks like he's the favorite here. And that's not good. That's not what WWE overall wants. Gunther's supposed to be the favorite. He's supposed to be this big old badass guy, this big brute that looks absolutely unstoppable, and Jey Uso's supposed to be that beloved underdog. And I know he's been clinging. He's been like literally rinse, recycle, repeat, or whatever. Recycle, reuse, whatever. He can't do it. Oh, they say he can't do it. They say he can't do it, but he can do it. I feel like this will overall cost Jey Uso the main event at WrestleMania. I do not think it would be for the benefit of WWE. Well, of course, if you have, Gunther actually seem like a damn near deserved champion, because at this point, Gunther just seems like a placeholder. He doesn't seem like he's going to defend the championship with honor at WrestleMania at all. He just literally seems like he's going to lay down on the mat, take a step aside, and let Jey Uso do his thing, which is not good. Which is not good because Gunther is the overall perception of him, as the longest reigning WWE Intercontinental Champion and with the World Heavyweight Champion. It needs to be a little bit more of a stronghold right now. It seems like the Fortress is as impregnable as the opposite of Fort Knox or whatever. It doesn't really seem like Gunther is really holding his own here. It doesn't really seem like that's not, it's not really Gunther's fault or whatever. I feel like it is overall WWE writing. I was totally flabbergasted once when Jey Uso won the WWE Royal Rumble. I was shocked because, the moment he won it, everybody knew he was going to challenge Gunther. Everybody knew he's going to win based on, the evidence of, this and that and the other. But now we're kind of faced with the fact that Gunther looks weak. Gunther looks weak as a champion. It's getting better week by week. But, a couple of, savage beatdowns, a couple of, backstage attacks, or a couple of, just overall, sneak attacks. It's only going to go one way. And it can go that way for a certain amount of time. So WWE has some work to do. They do 1,010%. Gunther needs to look like a fighting champion, and I know during the WWE live tour heading toward, the European tour, he's facing the likes of Seth Rollins, he's facing the likes of CM Punk, and I think Drew McIntyre as well. I could be wrong. for that, for in the main event. I don't think it's for the title or whatever, but maybe that's their way of kind of being like, okay, like this is how we're gonna make Gunther look good. This is how we're gonna make him seem like he belongs on the main show. This is how we're gonna make it seem like he is the World Heavyweight Champion. Because as of right now, Jey Uso was just running rampant, and I know he's been getting beat down quite a bit, but I feel like at this point the unpredictability factor is gone, and if you built out Jey Uso this much, and you had him win the 2025 WWE Royal Rumble just to make it to WrestleMania, just to lose, it just, that doesn't seem practical. It doesn't seem pragmatic at all whatsoever. So I feel like a lot of WWE fans, they know it's coming. Obviously, I feel like right now, for me as a wrestling fan, I feel like I'm taking it in like with a grain of salt. But for a lot of WWE fans, they are ready for Jey Uso to take his spot in the circle of life in terms of WWE, in terms of representing his family, maybe perhaps becoming the tribal chief, so to speak. But I don't know. I just feel like right now Gunther, he seems like he's kind of on the edge here. But I can't wait to see how WWE changes his character pretty soon. Next, we have Logan Paul come out. The moment Logan Paul comes out, he is absolutely booed 1,010%. For me personally, I do like Logan Paul. I feel like he's a phenomenal athlete. He has great matches. He is a superstar. But then again, he's also a celebrity. He's a YouTube celebrity. A lot of people, like on his podcast, Impulsive, where he interviewed WWE announcer Michael Cole. He told Michael Cole that, he receives a lot of, go away heat. Like, hey, dude, you don't belong here in WWE. Michael Cole kind of phrased it perfectly. Be like, you know what? Most of the WWE universe, because what you and your brother have done, you put into work, but then again, you didn't put in a lot of work that, a lot of people, who was in control of the narrative and in control of perspectives and stuff like that, they say you need to take this step to this step to this step to get here. Where, you had Jake Paul, Logan Paul, they, skipped a couple of steps there, based on fandom, based on popularity, based on social media platforms and the overall main image likeness. Like, you kind of had them kind of take a shortcut. And a lot of the WWE fans, they don't like them. They don't like the Paul brothers. For me, I feel like it's great. I feel like it's great for WWE. I feel like it's great for Logan Paul. I feel like it's a nice little beneficial relationship between the two. But overall, tonight on Monday Night Raw, you kind of had the fans lay into Logan Paul, telling them how they really felt. And then AJ Styles comes out, of course, to run Logan Paul out, building up that baby face. When they said AJ Styles was going to come call out, Logan Paul, I thought it was going to come out a little bit more different. Obviously, maybe they kind of, called an audible at the beginning of the show based on, how everything was going down with Logan. But I can't wait to see what these two do inside the ring. I really can't. I feel like this is a WrestleMania-worthy match. They're going to build it up. I know AJ Styles has, he did some work. He actually does have a little bit experience working with Logan Paul. I read a backstage report that he definitely did help him training 1,010%. So, I can't wait to see this. AJ Styles, I feel like wants Logan Paul to be successful. He wants Logan Paul to, kind of be the next phenomenal one. Because as of right now, and I do love WWE, but the main talent, early 30s, late 30s, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, Seth Rollins. I feel like right now they're kind of like, in the mid-level, like kind of they're at their prime, but they're kind of going down. Obviously, in terms of like injury and getting injured more often, it's a little bit more, it's a little bit more common for like, CM Punk or Seth Rollins to get injured. But they're going to need that new guy to step up. And I feel like 1,010% Logan Paul could be that guy. There's some guys in WWE NXT that are dying to make their step up. I feel like, and Carmelo Hayes, I feel like maybe he did get promoted a little bit too soon because on SmackDown he's kind of been like not a human pincushion kind of thing, but he has had his fair share of losses. But then again, he's got his sneaky wins, but not enough to kind of cement him as a competitor for the WWE Championship. I know once when like Trick Williams comes to the main stage, obviously, All Ego, Ethan Page as well. Maybe something might be different, but from those two superstars coming out of NXT, that's big. That's really, really big. And, but on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, I feel like right now, you kind of have these top guys. And like I said, they are aging a little bit. Still in the prime, still able to do what they have to do. But, the future of WWE right now, I did watch WWE Evolve. I have been paying attention to WWE LFG, obviously the NIL. It seems like it's going to work out. And it's going to work out. You have a lot of future potential talent to kind of come out and kick some ass. So, I feel hopeful. I definitely do feel hopeful. But I do feel like we need Logan Paul to kind of step up to the next level here. We need him to be, I don't want to say better because he's really, really good. He's very, very good. We need him to, I don't know. But we need Logan Paul to do something. 1,000%. All right, wrapping this up rapidly, we had the New Day take on Mysterio and Dragon Lee. It was a nice little physical bout, in a tornado tag match. It seems about right between the two teams. I like it. Couple near falls here and there. Then randomly came out a masked luchador. That was, expected to be Chad Gable, and then later on in the interview backstage, you saw some guy being carried off. Chad Gable seeming like he is the innocent one. But I don't know. It is a little funny. It is a little comical. But, I thought once when you saw Chad Gable accept the box for like a couple $100 bills, once when WWE had that vignette on Raw last week, I kind of took it a little bit too seriously. And now it seems like, Chad Gable's kind of heading toward this whole thing with him going to Mexico to, you can't fight something that you cannot see. You have to become lucha yourself. Like right after what happened on Monday Night Raw, I got to be honest, it seems like it is a little bit of a joke now. I did not want it. I was like, dude, this actually could be a nice little storyline to maybe bring Rey Fenix in. So maybe kind of, just something different. But, I don't know. It seems like it's kind of heading toward like a nice little gag thing. No, it should be interesting. Cody Rhodes comes out, talks about John Cena, how they will be under the same roof next week together. So that's interesting. Raquel Rodriguez wins in the number one contendership for Lyra Valkyria's WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship match with the help of Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan. She's able to pick up the victory over Bayley, so that should be pretty cool. I feel like this is a great way to get Becky Lynch involved. I do, and I know I did do a segment about I don't think Becky's going to be ready for WrestleMania. If you have all this, Lyra Valkyria, she's going to be all by herself. You're going to have Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez probably beat the holy crap out of her next week on Raw. And then Becky Lynch is going to come and maybe her and Lyra Valkyria challenge for those women's tag team championships, which is a possibility. And I feel like that would be, pretty cool to see. Next, we have Chad Gable. Like I said, he was accused backstage. You see somebody with the same gear, with the same luchador mask, with the same physical attribute of Chad Gable being carried off. So I thought that was ultimately kind of funny. Michael Cole was in the ring introducing the new WWE Women's World Heavyweight Champion Io Sky, Damage Control, and the number one contender Bianca Belair. Things got a little bit heated. Bianca Belair explains her actions, but if you look at Io Sky, it looks like she seems like she can see right through Belair. I don't know if a lot of you guys paid attention to that, but Io Sky was kind of like looking at her like who you trying to fool, man? Who you trying to fool? I feel like ultimately Belair did get involved with the whole Jade Cargill thing. I just can't wait to see how it all unfolds. I feel like at this point it kind of has to, because on SmackDown you saw Jade Cargill just basically wipe the floor of Naomi, just dominate her, just like, no problem. No problem whatsoever. So it's like, did WWE really keep the fans on the back burner who attacked Jade just for her to solve her problem in 5 seconds, beating the holy hell out of Naomi. Obviously, Naomi cannot hold her own against Jade Cargill, so it's like, I know Bianca Belair, she kind of came out as this babyface, like innocent, like, oh, I didn't do anything kind of thing. But I feel like WWE, the universe, was a little robbed. I feel like it would have been better if you had Bianca, someone involved. Obviously, the storyline is wide open, and it's still, very much a possibility that Bianca Belair will get involved. But at this point, if it's just, if it was just going to be Naomi and, literally like Jade Cargill, she's like, yay big, and Naomi's like, eh. And then Jade comes in and be like, stop bullying me. Bam, beats the holy hell out of Naomi. Naomi's like, all right, fine, I give in. And be like, that was it. That was all. That's what we've been waiting for, to find out who attacked Jade, and then bam. Like, I don't know. I feel like there has to be something. I feel like there needs to be something done at this point between, Bianca Belair and the whole Jade Cargill situation. Just for the storyline to just feel like not a lame duck storyline. But I don't know. We'll see. She is in the main event, but not in the main event, and WrestleMania, fighting for that Women's World Championship. So we will find out. Io Sky slaps the taste out of each woman's mouth. Obviously, had Rhea Ripley come down, and Io Sky seems like, hey, why is the attention not on me? I am the champion, by the way. And it seems like everybody's more interested into watching these two fight than for me to defend my championship at WrestleMania. So she kind of, pointed to the two, and she pointed to WrestleMania, the WrestleMania sign. So maybe that's a sign that we are going to get this triple threat match. Thank God. And I hope it's going to be great. I feel like these three women, their physical capabilities are going to steal the show. Main event time, we got Seth Rollins and CM Punk in a steel cage match. I definitely loved how each one of them kind of held the door open and be like, hey, honestly, dude, if you want to get out of the devil's playground here, you are more than welcome to get the holy hell out of here. I'll hold the ropes open for you. And none of them took it, which was actually pretty badass. I love the physicality. I would have asked for a little bit more blood. We didn't get any blood. And come on, guys. I know we got a holy crap. I know we got a holy crap moment from the suplex off of the what did Pat McAfee off the top of the steel cage. But come on, guys, you had CM Punk literally like draped over the top of the cage, and Seth Rollins, it was your standard superplex, and I feel like it was made into something that really was not. So come on, guys, let's get a grip on it here. Just kidding. No, it was cool. It was pretty badass. I love the near falls. I love the fact that each of them use their own move. The stomp, the go to sleep. So I was excited to see that. I liked how Seth Rollins, he pulled a Kyle Fletcher, how he he looked at Will Ospreay in the steel cage match at Revolution, where he was like, finish me, you bastard, you arsehole, you know what I mean. And then Seth Rollins kind of said the same thing. He was like, are you going to earn it? Are you going to earn it, you asshole? Are you going to earn it? And then, it was just kind of like, I was, I got major Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay vibes from AEW Revolution. I got to be honest. But, then Roman Reigns comes out. Roman Reigns comes out to attack Seth Rollins. And he comes out to attack CM Punk, much to the chagrin of his wise man, Paul Heyman. So we're going to get, some of that maybe on SmackDown. Obviously, Roman Reigns was disappeared off WWE for quite some time. We did not know what was going to be of him in WrestleMania. And then now you kind of have The Rock and John Cena. They're going to come back to Monday Night RAW next week. They're not going to come back to SmackDown. So you have one episode. You have one episode to overall kind of, solidify this triple threat match we're probably going to get at WrestleMania, to make it seem like, to kind of get the fans to be like, this is what you want. If you want it, you have to cheer for it. If you want it somehow, some way, we're going to make this Roman Reigns thing, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk thing work out, which I'm excited to. I'm excited to find out if these three superstars, but then again, I don't want it to be like a way for CM Punk to pick up a huge victory over Seth Rollins. I kind of thought about it today. CM Punk is overall, he defeated Seth Rollins last time, obviously, at the premiere of WWE Monday Night Raw on Netflix. So I really honestly did not want CM Punk to win. I really did not want. I feel like for the betterment of the character that is Seth Rollins, he needed to win one against CM Punk. And, with Roman Reigns dragging him out of the cage, bam, the first 2 feet hit the floor outside the cage, bam, he's declared the winner. If that was the excuse for Seth Rollins to pick up a victory over CM Punk, that kind of sucks. But it's it's a nice little segue into this possible star-studded triple threat match headed for WrestleMania Las Vegas. So all in all, great episode of Monday Night Raw. Honestly, I give it an 8.5 out of 10. It was pretty badass, and we're ready for more. All right, guys. So hey, do not go anywhere. We're gonna jump on into our AEW Revolution review. So grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage. You join me here in about 25 seconds. So hey, do not go anywhere.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on their face shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Raquel Rodriguez, every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, not on Monday through Friday. Sorry, excuse me, I did just eat. Monday nights only. Monday nights only, live on the GSMC Sports Network, 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Here to talk about the greatest thing in the world, professional wrestling. Outside, inside the ring, all the action and stuff like that. So make sure you guys, Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Follow the show, follow the network here at the GSMC Sports Network. We do love with all the peace, love, and positivity, 1,010%. But in terms of talking sports, it's already watered under the bridge. If you have some criticisms, maybe if you think that you're not going to get noticed because what you have to say isn't necessarily agreeing with the Wrestling Laureate here on the show, but it's all good. It's all good. It's already, it's all gravy, baby. So don't even worry about it. Just want to make sure you guys are having a good time watching and participating in the show. We are super grateful for each and every one of you guys who joins us here daily on the GSMC Sports Network. So, your support makes all the difference. So let's keep this party started, guys. Let's go ahead and, continue the greatest wrestling podcast in the world, 1,010%. And just remember to always, always, always hit up that tips and donations link at the GSMCpodcast.net. Hit up those super stickers, those super chats, because you guys are 1,010% my favorite people in the world. Because you guys like watching, you guys have the same passion that I do about this whole professional wrestling thing. All the action inside and outside the ring, backstage curtain calls, all the rumors, all the dramas, all the conspiracy theories. We talk about superstar inactive statuses, injury updates, contract negotiations, extensions, and new signings. We talk about promotions like WWE to AEW to Ring of Honor to Stardom to New Japan Professional Wrestling to Deathlock Professional Wrestling to Major League Wrestling to Game Change. If it makes major news in the world of professional wrestling, we talk about it here on this show, 1,010%. So make sure you guys Superman punch that like and subscribe button to get some cool notifications when we go live or when we broadcast and upload some new content. So make sure you guys also leave some comments after you watch the shows. So also smash that like button. Definitely love that, or share it with your favorite wrestling fan, or with your favorite wrestling friend who is also a fan. So you guys can talk about some good old fashioned wrestling. All right, without further ado, we have AEW Revolution from the Crypto.com arena in the city of Saints and Lost Souls, Los Angeles, California. We have AEW Revolution. All in all, I got to be honest, besides the ending, it was good. It was really, really good. Out of 10 out of 10 stars, I would probably give it an 8. Give it an 8. I thought the Mariah May and Toni Storm match should have been the main event. It's the finale between the three. It was the rubber match for the AEW Women's World Heavyweight Championship, and it wasn't it wasn't gifted to us, but all in all, it was pretty decent. First match, we have AEW Revolution 0 Hour. We had about 3 matches. Obviously, wasn't able to kind of keep up with all of them, but I did watch this one. It was the Rizzler, or the friend of the Rizzler, or whatever. Orange Cassidy and Mark Briscoe picking up the victory here. Once again, just kind of Tony Khan appealing to like the celebrity, appealing to social media. You kind of see this in WWE with why did Travis Scott come out with The Rock to attack Cody Rhodes and align with the new heel that was pronounced John Cena? It is what it is. Sometimes I don't want to say sell out because that seems kind of bad. But at the end of the day, you do kind of sell out for some celebrities to be like, you know what, we need to get some attention from some possible potential fans, and by all means, it's a good idea. It's a good idea, especially with WWE heading to Netflix. It's a great way to get some new featured fans. We also have AEW that streamed for the first time on Prime Video. It was $49.99, and I thought it would have been better if it was like if it was available to people who actually do subscribe to Amazon Prime, but we didn't really get that, which kind of sucked. But I guess you paid for quality. We had a couple of pretty good matchups. First and foremost, this matchup was it was pretty good. It was a nice little attempt by Brody King. Obviously, I knew this wasn't going to be a match he was set up to win. You saw in the promo how a lot of how Brody King realized that the reason why Kaz Okada gets a lot of his victories is because, sometimes, you can't win them all. Sometimes, the referee, he's the ultimate opportunistic person. And Okada was able to kind of do the same thing and defeat Brody King here to retain that AEW Continental Championship. I'm being me personally as an AEW fan, and I am a fan. But, I'm kind of getting tired of this reign. I ultimately are getting tired of this reign. I feel like it would have meant more if you had this whole, the EVPs and the Elite storyline, go through. But instead, it wasn't really working out. The moment Jon Moxley made his way to All Elite Wrestling to start his Death Riders thing, that storyline with Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, Jack Perry, and the AEW Continental Champion Kaz Okada, it went to shit. It went to crap. 1,010%. It did not work well. So now Okada looks weak. Jack Perry's nowhere to be found. He wrestles in New Japan Professional Wrestling. Matthew Nicholas Jackson straight up ran to New Japan Professional Wrestling because they're like, we kind of screwed that one up there. And the only one that's kind of left to take the heat and to kind of be looked at as like a joke, at least in my opinion, 1,010% in my opinion, is Kazuchika Okada, the AEW Continental Champion. He's there to kind of take the heat. He's there to kind of, be that one trick pony, that one line pony that, he's still the Rainmaker. He's still the man that Matthew Nicholas Jackson wanted to promote in AEW. They signed him to a giant contract. He made his debut in AEW, defeated Eddie Kingston for that championship. And now you see him, he fights here and there, and I feel like his credibility is lost. And I don't know if that makes a lot of sense to you people, because, he, the way he wins, it's just a little scratchy, just a little, but then again, that's what a heel is, right? And, Eric, that's what a heel is. But I don't know, maybe, I know his talent. I've seen his talent in New Japan Professional Wrestling, and it just irks me, and it just kind of sucks to see, him not kind of live up to that potential. Like I said, maybe, backstage he just seems like a one-trick pony. The Rainmaker and stuff like that. He steals wins, mostly because, I backstage Tony Khan maybe is like, okay, this is how you're gonna win. You're gonna do this and that and the other. You're gonna heal. It makes sense. But to the fans, at least in my perspective, to the fans that did watch Kazuchika Okada in New Japan Professional Wrestling, I was like, these wins, this isn't what New Japan Professional Wrestling really is about. But, overall, it was a good match. It was a good match, with the heel obviously winning, so I guess I can't be too upset. Maybe I am too connected to this, but maybe I should give Okada a little bit of slack. Well, you know what? I do give Okada 1,010% of the slack. I just, kind of hating on AEW creative writing there and bookings, but it didn't really make sense. But it is what it is. Next, we had Swerve Strickland defeat Ricochet to become the number one contender for the AEW World Championship. He makes an appearance at the end of the night to attack Jon Moxley. And I want to see Swerve win this match. I want to see Swerve beat the holy hell out of Jon Moxley because I do love Mox. I do. This Death Riders thing, it did rejuvenate a little bit of what happened in AEW and like that lame duck storyline that was, Matthew Nicholas Jackson, the EVPs running rampant all over Dynamite, Collision, and Rampage. I get it. I like it. But at this point, you just have Jon Moxley doing these, wash, rinse, and repeat promos. Wheeler Yuta being abused. Marina Shafir, Claudio Castagnoli, the Bastard Pack, doing his dirty work. Right now it seems a little repetitive. If somebody was to dethrone Jon Moxley, I personally think maybe it might be Darby Allin at all in Texas. The ultimate babyface win, possibly. But, a year from now at Dynasty, you had Swerve Strickland win that AEW World Heavyweight Championship against Samoa Joe in that triple threat match. Maybe this might be a way for it to come full circle. I loved how AEW represented their first ever African-American AEW World Championship winner in Swerve Strickland. So I would definitely... But that's, once again, wrestling fan biases. Swerve Strickland, one of my favorite wrestlers. Since I was introduced into AEW, I was like, man, this guy's really, he's pretty badass. He was special. Only to find out he did fight in, WWE as well. And I was like, holy crap, really? Ricochet, all power to you. Salute to you, my man. Give it your best. Wasn't good enough to beat Usos. I kind of, I felt for Prince Nana once when he kind of walked away and he was like, man, screw you, man. Like, for me, I was kind of like, what is this for? This obviously has to be for a reason. Only for it to kind of be like there was no reason behind it. I kind of thought Prince Nana was going to screw over Swerve Strickland and be like a Ricochet kind of guy. Ricochet as well, coming in as this bratty, snooty, cocky, self-centered kid with the backwards Philadelphia Eagles hat that he wore on Dynamite last week. I feel like if Ricochet maybe had a belt, that would have made sense. But I feel like Ricochet needs a championship in AEW. I do. I feel like that 1,010%. Obviously, I don't see him wearing that Continental Championship. Now you have Omega holding that International Championship. And, maybe some Ring of Honor television champion. I can see that happening. But this kid needs a belt because, he's successful first and foremost. And second of all, he just deserves it. He deserves it. The way you see Ricochet, although you might not like him, with the golden scissors and stuff like that, exposing, the turnbuckle, this and that and the other. There's something about Ricochet that you really cannot deny the fact that he really keeps the audience on the edge of their seats. He is Mr. Pay-Per-View. He is kind of like the RVD of AEW. And he's kicking ass. I want to see this guy win. I feel like as of right now, he'd be more of a better Ring of Honor World Champion than, Chris Jericho. But, you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is. And, didn't Jericho lose that championship? Maybe. I could be wrong. I could be totally talking on my arse here. But I just want to see Ricochet pick up some gold. But I do not think it's going to be in AEW. I think it might be in Ring of Honor. Maybe the CMLL. Maybe in the independent circuits, maybe, Prince Puma, maybe makes a comeback. But, Next we have Maxwell Jacob Friedman taking on the Hangman Adam Page in a regular singles bout. I was kind of shocked that this wasn't a little bit more, it was physical. It was physical, and it was one hell of a match. Obviously, a lot of fans wanted to see the whole Hangman Adam Page thing come into fruition, and it did. It did. So, he was able to pick up the victory, which was good for Hangman. MJF, for me, I feel like he was kind of riding this high. He was kind of riding the wave of success a little bit here. And, what happened on Dynamite the last episode where he was carried off and he was going to light Adam Page on fire, and then, I don't know. I just feel like MJF should have won. I might be crazy, and which is possible, but I feel like MJF should have won this match. I do feel like that 1,010%. Like I was talking about, during my preview of AEW Revolution, these are literally two cornerstone pieces of what makes AEW AEW. They started from the beginning. They're both young, rising superstars that they need to, not prey on. That sounds a little weird. But they need to be successful so they could, sell merchandise. They can, sell tickets. So they could sell, new wrestling generational fans to, come to, invest their time into watching AEW. And MJF does that. Obviously, that's MJF. And Hangman, he has, but MJF was kind of right when he was like, what, MJF's done nothing wrong. Whenever I do something, you get on my ass. But when Adam Page does it, Hangman, it's all cool. He can light Swerve Strickland's childhood dream house on fire, and it's okay. You can have Hangman Adam Page attack AEW wrestling legends backstage, and guess what? It's okay. You can have him throw fits because he's not getting what he wants, and it's okay. So it's... I like the perpetuation, the perspective that the storyline was ultimately headed into. But I thought MJF should have picked up this dub. I got to be honest, I thought he should have. Tag team match. There's not really much about this, but the Hurt Syndicate really on it. I don't know if any of you guys, if you guys watched this match or not. If you didn't, just know that the Outrunners look like professional wrestling fans fighting in AEW. And that's cool. That's awesome. They do the Hulk Hogan like pump up, they do that kind of stuff. Yeah, round of applause. That's cool and all. But to beat the Hurt Syndicate, you're gonna need a little bit more than just the wrestling fans. Alter ego or whatever. Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin handled this match very, very soundly. They dominated them from the beginning. There was no chance that the Outrunners were going to win. The way the match ended, you had the knee to the face off the top rope by Shelton Benjamin on both Outrunners, and he had a spear by Lashley. He had a clean sweep that was the Outrunners. But the Hurt Syndicate, they look like they're not stopping. And I looked at it, and I tried to look at it in such a positive perspective. But, I saw the way that, I saw how Bobby Lashley was ultimately underutilized in WWE for basically forever, for in his first run, also in his second run, with the whole Hurt business and stuff like that. And, I'm kind of getting a little, hints at it here and there. As the AEW World Tag Team Champions, I don't really... I don't like seeing Bobby Lashley standing on the corner. Why didn't when Bobby Lashley debuted in AEW walk up straight to Jon Moxley's face to be like, I'm next? That would have been absolutely explosive. MVP wants people to get behind the Hurt Syndicate, but then they're just tag team merchants. They're scoring easy tag team wins in the tag team division in AEW, which by all means, besides Private Party, and of course, in the, CMLL, also New Japan Professional Wrestling, you have all these other tag teams. But in AEW, they're just, it's just easy. It's just too easy. So now you need a little bit of a challenge. So I feel like it would be ultimately beneficial for the Hurt Syndicate to maybe add another member. Cedric Alexander did recently get released from WWE, so we could have a Hurt Business reunion here. Bobby Lashley gives the belt to Cedric Alexander, and now we have Bobby Lashley going after Kenny Omega, going after Kazuchika Okada, or maybe going after Jon Moxley or Swerve Strickland, which would make a lot more sense. I would prefer that than seeing him in the tag team division. All right, next we had that should have been the main event. We had the timeless Toni Storm taking on the former AEW World Women's Champion Mariah May in a Hollywood ending. This match was, this match was beautiful. This match was perfect. It was exactly what the fans wanted. It was exactly what took AEW to the next level in terms of the women's division. Hopefully they don't mess it up. Now you kind of have it being broadcasted. Who's going to be the next one to contend for Toni Storm's AEW World Women's Championship? I want to see a casino battle royale. I want to see something like that. You don't really see women participate in that kind of match in AEW. I want to see something different. I want to see it implemented on Dynamite on Wednesday. This needs to happen. We need to find a new warrior. We need to find somebody to go face to face with the timeless Toni Storm. Because as of right now, she looks great. She looks great. Mariah May is going to take a much needed vacation away from AEW. That's just my opinion. Like Toni Storm did once when she lost the AEW World Women's Champion to Mariah May. I feel like now Mariah May is going to, kind of take some time away, come back in like a month and a half, and then be the next one, be like Toni Storm, and then we're going to see these two girls go at it once again, which is great. Absolutely amazing. Stellar, cinematic, beautiful story. Bam, boom, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya. It's a great match. Not really much to say about that. If I say more about it, I feel like I will ruin it. But overall, congratulations to Toni Storm for regaining her championships. And congratulations to Mariah May for putting on one hell of a match. Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega is our new AEW International Champion, dethroning Don Callis family member Konosuke Takeshita. I thought Takeshita was going to win this one, sadly. These two guys literally went toe-to-toe with each other for about 20 minutes in a match that, it wasn't boring. It wasn't boring whatsoever. It did at one point kind of get to like, all right, when are these guys going to, fall down? But Kenny Omega was able to do it. And it was a smart decision. Takeshita has held the title. He has already established credibility as the leader of the Don Callis family. Now he gets to, he will probably kind of invoke his rematch clause to challenge for that AEW International Championship once again, which seems fitting, especially going up against one of the best in the world, Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega winning this championship, I gotta be honest, is the right move for AEW. Since he's made his in-ring debut from when he was injured, he was gone for about a year and a half. AEW took a hit. Took a hit in numbers. It still seems like it's declining in viewership, but that's because Kenny Omega hasn't been around that much. And now that he's going to have a title to ultimately kind of be the circumference, kind of be that radius of Dynamite, Collision. I feel like Dynamite. You're going to see Kenny Omega defending that AEW International Championship a lot in the main event on Dynamite, which is going to draw some more viewers, which is great. Konosuke Takeshita, very known in New Japan Professional Wrestling, but here around the United States, where you have a lot of like, I don't want to say like Southern meatheads. I'm just kidding. No, not like that. But you have a lot of traditional wrestling fans. You have a lot of fans that watched Kenny Omega kind of coming up in the in the independents. That's the main reason why a lot of AEW fans kind of go. They kind of know a lot of this international talent like Konosuke Takeshita. But now you have Kenny Omega being the champion. Kenny Omega is something that the fans wanted. It's something that the company definitely and desperately needed at this point. So why did Kenny Omega dethrone Takeshita at Revolution? Me personally, I thought it would have made the Don Callis family seem strong, would have made them seem absolutely like this juggernaut, unstoppable force if you would have had Konosuke Takeshita successfully retain the AEW International Championship. But then, he lost, and then, of course, Kyle Fletcher lost as well. For a little while there, you kind of had the Don Callis family being a little bit of a joke. Then Lance Archer, then the Machine, Brian Cage, and then, Kyle Fletcher turning his back on Will Ospreay, and now this whole Mark Davis thing. And, you kind of had them, seeming like one cohesive unit, that it was going to be one, a couple of badass superstars doing whatever it takes to gain gold in AEW. But as of right now, it kind of seems like a little weak here and there. But not taking anything away from Konosuke. I feel like he is ultimately the shining star in the Don Callis family, and I can't wait for his rematch against Omega, and it's going to be great. I feel like it's going to happen at Dynasty, and maybe you might get a title switch. Maybe not. But ultimately, these two competitors know each other like the back of their hands, and it's definitely not the last time these guys are going to be meeting. Next, we have Mercedes Moné successfully retain the Inert TBS Championship against Momo Watanabe. Good. It was a good match. Both girls obviously injured after the bout. Mercedes Moné continues to be absolutely dominant. Continues to be absolutely she's a stellar performer. She really is. She has great matches. She does her best to not just propel herself in the squared circle, but she did a lot of the times you kind of saw her sell some moves from Momo that I was kind of like, obviously based on someone from Stardom heading toward AEW. Although you do see the partnership through and through, sometimes it doesn't really transcribe into paper. You know what I mean? But this match was good between both the competitors. 4 belts, Moné continues her reign in AEW, and I don't feel like it's stopping anytime soon. She's approaching her 1-year anniversary at AEW. Obviously, she's made one hell of a mark in All Elite Wrestling, the CMLL, New Japan Professional Wrestling, and Ring of Honor. So congratulations. I do not see her title reign ending anytime soon, being brutally honest. I don't want to say I see her running with this until All In Texas, where maybe you have somebody dethrone her. It's like, oh, that's cool. Somebody beat Mercedes Moné. But thinking about the people on the roster, I don't really see a name that could do that. I really don't. Maybe if Athena drops her Ring of Honor World Women's Championship, maybe, and then she comes to get Mercedes Moné's AEW TBS Championship. Maybe that could be because Athena, super amazing, super great. And I don't know, she's awesome. She's awesome. Next steel cage match. Will Ospreay, the aerial assassin, taking on the protostar, Kyle Fletcher, the Don Callis family. Great match. A lot of blood. A lot of bad blood. Definitely. It was kind of cool to see both these superstars, like I love to reiterate on my podcast, is, there's a reason. There's definitely a reason, 1,010%. Why wrestling promotions they see these they see two men in the locker room that have amazing chemistry. Mostly they've had success in the tag team division, like Triple H and Shawn Michaels, SummerSlam 2002, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, obviously the unsanctioned match at Elimination Chamber, El Generico, also Kevin Steen, Ring of Honor. You had that I Quit match between Christian Cage and Adam Copeland for the TNT World Championship a couple months back. It's because these guys, they know each other like the back of their hands. They trust each other. When they were doing a lot of crazy crap, a lot of crazy stuff, that Spanish Fly from the top of the steel cage was amazing. And Kyle Fletcher yelling at Will Ospreay, it was nice. And, kind of licking the blood, it was exactly what we expected from this match. It's a rivalry that is hopefully... I want to see Will Ospreay kind of move on from this. I want to see what's next for the Don Callis family because, like I said, you have Takeshita dropping that AEW International Championship at Omega. And, it'd be kind of cool to see Will Ospreay go after Omega and have a nice little match at Dynasty coming up. That would be pretty badass. But, overall, great match. It was honestly one of my favorite matches on the bout. Being honest, I know they got a lot of hate online. A lot of people were saying that, Mariah May, Toni Storm, Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher should have been the main event of AEW Revolution. But I didn't mind this match. You had Christian Cage come in, and I got to be honest, I didn't like it. I thought it was ultimately, I don't know, I thought it was, I thought Christian Cage was holding on to that contract for such a long time, since August. And then he just comes in just to kind of have it wiped away. What does that do for Christian Cage? What does that do for the patriarchy? And it's goes to show that AEW just has so much talent. There's just so much talent. Who's gonna get the who's gonna get the attention today? It's not a good spot to be in if you're Tony Khan. It really isn't. Imagine, like, it was kind of compared to the Money in the Bank cash-in from Austin Theory. It was that. It was that bad. The match was decent. You had that, like I ultimately predicted. You had that spot where Wheeler Yuta had to choose between, okay, do I choose Honor and help out Cope, or do I, stick to this Stockholm Syndrome thing and help Jon Moxley, which he ended up doing. So now, you had Adam Copeland screwed out of the AEW World Championship. He technically was not pinned by Moxley. Christian Cage was, that was a doozy of a finish. It was, after an amazing, great, successful night, it was, it wasn't the best. It really, honestly wasn't the best. And still, your AEW World Heavyweight Champion, leader of the Death Riders, Jon Moxley, Los Angeles, California, Crypto.com Arena. It was, like I said, all in all, I liked it. I thought it was great. But, the Christian Cage, I feel like he looks so weak. Very, very weak. He's going to have to do something on Dynamite to ultimately kind of perpetuate and kind of propel him to the top once again. Because right now he just, he seemed like a superstar that's probably going to get released, that they're not renewing his contract. And they're like, oh, we need him to get rid of that. So now we're going to get another competitor to kind of turn in that contract. And I feel like it is going to be Darby. But, I don't know, huge waste. What a waste for Christian Cage, man. That's crazy. All right, guys. So, hey, do not go anywhere. We're going to jump on into our next segment. We got plans for Roman Reigns headed into WrestleMania 41 Las Vegas, Nevada. So, grab your favorite snack. Grab your favorite ice cold beverage and join me here in about 25 seconds. So, hey, do not go anywhere.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we're back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday night live on the GSMC Sports Network at 8 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, here to talk about the greatest thing in the world, professional wrestling, and all the action. All the action inside and outside the ring, backstage curtain calls, all the rumors, all the drama. We talk about it here on this show 1010%. So make sure you guys Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Follow the show, follow the network to make all your wrestling dreams come true. Of course, if your dreams are to watch more wrestling content, then I'm your man. All right, without further ado, let's jump on into our third segment. We have Roman Reigns' WrestleMania plans. Will WrestleMania 41 go on without Roman Reigns? I thought maybe, like it was a 25, maybe like a 20% chance. But after what happened on WWE Monday Night RAW, we all kind of saw this coming. Not much of a surprise, and now we are going to get a triple threat match. But conspiracy theories in terms of wrestling, I thought it was going to be something a little bit more complex, trippy, and cool. But so it seems like we are going to get Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, which is pretty badass because he's been, he's been out. He's been out of action since the Royal Rumble, which is, it's not good. It's not good for WWE. Roman Reigns is the highest paid star on the WWE roster, and him not being a part of WrestleMania would have been terrible. Would have been terrible because it seems like, and it kind of sucks that it's true, that he hasn't really been on WWE quite consistently. Ever since he won the Ula Fala from Solo Sikoa at Saturday Night's main event, he kind of took a little bit of hiatus there. Nobody knew where to find him. The Rock didn't ask anything about Roman Reigns when he made it back to the WWE. And so now Roman Reigns, during the Royal Rumble, gets eliminated, gets stomped by Seth Rollins once again, then he's out. So a lot of people didn't know what to make of the whole Roman Reigns thing heading into WrestleMania 41. But, as of, what happened on Monday Night Raw, obviously things do change 1,010%. But, he has appearances with the company, especially during its European tour. He's going to be in Bologna, Italy. He's going to be in London, England. So, we're going to get a more Roman Reigns. So, I'm excited to find out what more is going to come of this feud. We're going to get a triple threat match. Most likely, maybe a number one contenders match. That'd be pretty cool. If Nick Aldis or, Adam Pearce is like, oh, you did not main event WrestleMania. But the winner of this match is the number one contender at SummerSlam. That'd be pretty cool. I feel like that'd be pretty badass. So you have Roman Reigns, you have Seth Rollins, and you have CM Punk. This cage match on Monday Night Raw was pretty cool. Pretty badass. It was, kind of cool to see both of them open the door and be like, hey, if you want out of the cage, go ahead. I'll hold the rope open for you. Get the hell out of here. But then that superplex off of the top of the cage was, it was exciting. But if you look at it, CM Punk was kind of just like slouched over like a sloth. And then, Seth Rollins was able to kind of hit that superplex onto CM Punk. And you kind of look at it, you're like, wait a minute. If you look at all the metrics, pay attention to physics, it's like he just got hit with a regular superplex. And it was like, it was cool. It was cool. It was badass. But, I think they made a little bit of too much of a big deal about it. But, it was decent. It was pretty damn decent. But, yeah. So we did come out to confront Seth Rollins, obviously choking him out from the back. We're going to get a triple threat match heading toward WrestleMania. And, obviously I had some conspiracy theories with this man right here. Roman Reigns is a star. Roman Reigns is he's the focal point of the talent on Monday Night Raw, on SmackDown, Netflix, the USA Network. They all want some of Roman Reigns. But the best thing for Roman Reigns is to kind of be relevant in the storyline. Be relevant in the overall product of the story. So, there's some possibilities, some chances. I was kind of like, you know what? Maybe, just maybe you kind of have The Rock hijack WrestleMania Night 1 like he did last year. And then, maybe him and John Cena and Seth Rollins, maybe they come together, with, Seth Rollins and his mutual hate for Roman Reigns and, Cody Rhodes is the same reason why The Rock and John Cena want to tear them apart. Maybe you could have got a tag team match. Maybe you could have got a 6-man tag team match where you could have had, Cody Rhodes, obviously, teaming up with Roman Reigns based on, everything that's happened with The Rock. And then, then you have CM Punk, who needs that favor. And he calls in that favor to kind of help. And he has Roman Reigns kind of watch his back a little bit here. Obviously, now it just seems like it's, kind of wrapped in tinfoil and already done because of what happened on Monday Night Raw. We're going to get a triple threat match. But just playing around with it a little bit, it would have been an amazing star-studded tag team match if you would have saw basically Roman Reigns, team up. With CM Punk, with Cody Rhodes, to take on that one person, and two people who cost him the match and had Cody Rhodes finish the story, John Cena and Seth Rollins, and of course with The Rock and everything like that, his cousin that went rogue a little bit, but it would have been. I feel like it would have been awesome. If you had, if you would have had this tag team match coming out, you had CM Punk call out, The Rock and John Cena on Monday Night Raw last week. I thought it was going to be them overall to confront CM Punk, but then Roman Reigns had to, come in, kick some ass, and take names. But I don't know. Right now, you are going to get that triple threat match. CM Punk, obviously, like I said, calling out The Rock and John Cena. I feel like maybe, I don't want to call it lazy storyline because, Gosh. Because it's going to be one hell of a match, so I can't be too upset about it. I really honestly can't. I want to see something more from The Rock, but I know, and it's a damn shame. It's a damn shame. I personally think The Rock is going to be just like a manager, kind of right now on WWE, on WrestleMania. Maybe he finds a way to help Cody Rhodes lose. And then, I got to be honest, I want to see John Cena walk out the winner. I want to see him the new WWE champion. I honestly do. 1,010%. It was rumored, Dave Meltzer said it in Wrestling Observer, that WWE did, in fact, want to change Cody Rhodes' persona and have him be a heel. But, gambling with the top babyface in WWE is not really smart. So, overall, the choice went to John Cena. But, now we're going to have these three guys wrestle in a triple threat match. I'm down for it. I like it. I feel like it's great. I feel like this will ultimately kind of set something up towards SummerSlam. Like, maybe it gets to the point where, I feel like Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns will kind of step up and kind of segue into something like their own thing. I feel like CM Punk will maybe, find a way to maybe tag team with Cody Rhodes to take on The Rock and John Cena at SummerSlam, which would seem fitting. We're going to get John Cena. Well, I don't know how long John's going to be in there. That's the thing. I know he's already planned for, a Saturday Night's Main Event and, 2 or 3 SmackDowns. And then that's the end of his, retirement tour. So, this whole thing with CM Punk, imagine if CM Punk is the Rock guy. Maybe the Rock loses John Cena and then maybe gains another guy. Maybe gains another person to take that overall spot that he wanted Cody Rhodes to fulfill. And I can see CM Punk do that. I can see, because he hates everybody. He even said it himself. He's not here on the Raw roster, or he's not here in WWE. He did not come back and prove that he's the best in the world for no reason. He came back not to make friends. He came back to crack skulls, cash in checks, protect his family, Dog Larry, AJ Lee, whatever. And now he's going to be this unpredictable badass who, even if he kind of takes the Rock's side, he's going to be a forever babyface. I don't think he could possibly be a heel. Because even when he's acting heelish, the fans love CM Punk for being CM Punk. And the fans are going to understand it like CM Punk is doing CM Punk things. This isn't called being a heel. This isn't called being an antagonist. This is just who CM Punk is. So maybe in that kind of, retrospect, maybe it might be a bad idea to kind of, for The Rock to add CM Punk to his faction when John's gone. But I know sooner rather than later. I feel like, because as soon as John Cena went heel, he took to social media saying that sometimes you kind of have to do the hard thing, even though, nobody wants you to do it and you don't want to do it, but you have to do it. It kind of gives people, wrestling fans, like a way out. It gives them like a way out. Like, I feel like later on, down the line in WWE, you're going to have Cody Rhodes earn the respect of John Cena. John Cena's going to realize it, and he's going to kick The Rock in the nuts or something like that. That would be a great little storyline if you're having The Rock take on John Cena maybe at SummerSlam. But like I said, you don't really know the availability of John Cena at this point. I feel like the way you're handling the Doctor of Thugonomics is like you're planning to keep him to the end of the year. You have this, we turned John Cena heel at Elimination Chamber, and now we have about 40 to 35 days until WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. Are we going to be able to kind of push something for a storyline that makes sense? And they did a good job. The biggest heel turn in WWE history, the most watched thing on social media was John Cena turning heel, kicking Cody Rhodes in the nuts. And so I'm like, all right, you kind of have this big thing that happened with John Cena. Does John Cena have one more big moment left in him? Like what if at the end of WrestleMania, you have The Rock trying to help out John Cena to win the match against Cody Rhodes. John Cena, although he did turn heel, doesn't necessarily mean he wants to win with disgraceful backup from the final boss, The Rock, and maybe he kicks him in the nuts, having their match build up, because the both of them have a 1-1 record against each other. We don't have a definitive winner between The Rock and John Cena. We still need that tiebreaker match, and it would be absolutely phenomenal to see these two superstars go at it, especially with John Cena. I imagine John Cena, the one person during John Cena's huge reign of dominance in the early 2010s, late 2000s, there was only one person to kind of, be that equalizer, and it was The Rock. It was the, wearing the shirts, like boots to asses kind of thing. He took that little stupid, little spinny belt, fixed the WWE Championship, and made it seem right. These two being together, like right now, it makes sense. But I do feel like there's an overall there's got to be something more. There's got to be something more to this storyline. There's got to be something more to what Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns wants to accomplish. And there has to be something more than, CM Punk. CM Punk is probably the only superstar that could literally show up to Raw or SmackDown and not have a definitive character stance, or not be like a heel, a babyface, this and the other. So, what's going to happen with this whole Seth Rollins thing? I know a lot of people are debating on Seth Rollins turning heel, him aligning himself with The Rock to take down Roman Reigns and CM Punk. So, I could see that happening. I could definitely 1,010% see that happening, especially, I do think that main event match with John Cena and Cody Rhodes needs to be a stipulation. There needs to be a stipulation, or you're going to get that, that cheeky, that cheap, the referee gets knocked down and then everybody comes down and all hell breaks loose. I can see that happening. No tribal combat, because Roman Reigns isn't involved, so, or Solo Sikoa or whatever. But I don't know. Something needs to make up about this triple threat match. I know they're fighting at WrestleMania, and I do have high hopes that it's going to make sense at the end of the day. But, post WrestleMania, I feel like just, on the first episode of Monday Night Raw after Mania, there just needs to be, something different, something badass. John Cena or Seth Rollins, takes the deal from the final boss, and then, bam. All right, guys, so hey, do not go anywhere. We're going to jump on into our next segment. We got MJF signing a lucrative contract with AEW, $15 million plus a year. So we're going to get into that when we come back. So grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage, and join me here in about 25 seconds. So hey, do not go anywhere.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday night live on the GSMC Sports Network, the GSMC Podcasting Network on YouTube, to talk about the greatest thing in the world, professional wrestling, all the action inside and outside the ring, all the backstage curtain calls, all the rumors, all the dramas. We talk about superstar inactive statuses, injury updates, their contract negotiations, extensions, and new signings. We talk about promotions from WWE to Stardom to New Japan Professional Wrestling to TNA to NXT to Ring of Honor. If it makes major news in the world of professional wrestling, we talk about it here on this show. 1,010%, so do not be afraid to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the greatest wrestling podcast in the world. Also, make your dreams come true. Of course, if your dreams are to consume some free wrestling content. All right, without further ado, let's go and talk about some Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF, the best there is, the best there was. And nope, that was Bret Hart. Just kidding. Moving on. But I love MJF. I love what MJF's doing on AEW. On AEW, he's Dia Boy. He's the it boy. Him, with this match with Hangman Adam Page at AEW Revolution, you literally saw the future of AEW inside the ring fighting against each other. It was a nice little well-fought match, technical, down to the point. You had MJF, pander to the crowd a little bit, get them all riled up. And that's something that, obviously, that's what he does best. There's nobody who does it better than MJF. MJF recently appeared on the Sports Illustrated Sports Illustrated Media podcast with Jimmy Trina, the former AEW World Champion. He recently denied reports of making $15 million a year. He said this, and I quote, "The amount of money that I get by the time it is over surpasses $15 million." Which is good, which is exactly what he deserves. And he continued to say this, and I quote, he says, "I'm making top guy money, whether it would be on AEW contract or a WWE contract." MJF definitely emphasized how he is significantly younger than other top stars, in the industry. Like I was talking about earlier, WWE, you have Randy Orton, you have Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and then, you kind of have them, kind of topping out a little bit. Well, Cody and, they're young-ish. But, Roman Reigns, he's getting older. He's getting older in 1,010%. I feel like the piece that they were trying to push over, especially during the Vince McMahon era, Vince McMahon's last guy, Austin Theory, wasn't really good. AJ Styles getting older, almost retiring. The Undertaker gone, Kane gone. There's and then NXT. The only two top guys from NXT that I can imagine making an influence on WWE would probably be Trick Williams and Ethan Page. But that's just me. I feel like that would be the two guys that would, be like, oh, these guys could be like the next, Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre. Like, they're getting all older, but they are relatively healthy. Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre. Last year actually dealt with injuries. Right now, Damian Priest seems like he's also on his way up. So Carmelo Hayes being drafted from NXT, I feel like he can also make his way up to the top. But it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time right now. Right now, he's kind of dealing with his losses. But, eventually he will be a part of the main stage, the main card in terms of the WWE Championship. But, what MJF, he's 28 years old. That is absolutely 1,010% phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal what MJF has done ever since he's a generational talent. That's not much of a surprise. He said this as well, and I quote, "I won the bidding war. WWE didn't win the bidding war. AEW didn't win the bidding war. I won the bidding war because I make an absurd amount of money." That's pretty cool. Obviously, always count on MJF to constantly, feel like he's in a wrestling promo, during an interview, on stage, behind the scenes, on a documentary, and, the AEW All Access that's on HBO Max. Like, you can always count him to, like, stay in character. You see him on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter /X or whatever you like to call it. Him talking to fans and being disrespectful. Like, that's just who MJF is. And it's, I definitely love how he sticks to his craft. I honestly feel like, and I do love Jon Moxley, and I did love Bryan Danielson's run. Swerve Strickland, one of my favorite wrestlers, but I really don't see a suitable champion for that AEW world title, and, that's not MJF. MJF is like The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, all mixed into one. He's an amazing generational talent. But if you put the belt on, MJF, then, how are you going to be able to highlight all these other careers, all these other superstars that you signed with All Elite Wrestling, Ring of Honor, to CMLL, or, New Japan Professional Wrestling? There's a lot of, there's a lot of holes. There's a lot of holes that you need to fill before you let MJF be a champion again. And I really think Tony Khan is, setting that up. I mean, I kind of hope he is. Because, at this point, is MJF really wasting his prime in All Elite Wrestling? If he did sign a multi-million-dollar, contract to make $15 million plus a year working for All Elite Wrestling. Is this really smart for MJF? But then again, like, I really don't see this guy accepting anything that isn't being the top guy. And if you see how MJF is on Dynamite, Collision, Rampage, or whatever, or on PLEs, he really speaks for himself. He really does, 1,010%. Which Tony Khan, he has a lot of money. You've seen them throw money around. In that kind of retrospect. So so is Tony Khan. Did he have MJF sign a lucrative contract just to kind of keep him from signing with WWE? Does that make sense? Did he sign it for the good reasons? Will he win the AEW World Title before the 2025 year? Before it ends. What if he did sign with WWE? He would be a top guy immediately. He would run Monday Night Raw. The only person that would literally contend with him would probably be Cody Rhodes. And he would beat Cody Rhodes. He would beat CM Punk. He would beat Seth Rollins. Him and Roman Reigns would be probably one of the biggest dream matches in WWE, AEW, and professional wrestling history. That would be an amazing match to watch, because you have two... the moment MJF would ever leave AEW for WWE would mark the end of AEW as we know it. But, kind of having this guy that I bet you, WWE scouts have been scouting him. Nobody is MJF. Nobody. He's a generational talent. He's a single talent. He runs on his own. He's a match. He's a light in the dark alley. He literally is the future professional wrestler. The way he cuts promos, man. The way he gets under the fans' skin, oh my gosh. Like I said, he's like The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, CM Punk, and Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart combined into one. He's literally that impressive. And that's something that the wrestling world needs. And that's something that AEW really, honestly could not afford to lose. If MJF, like I said, if MJF left AEW, it would cease to exist. Which is, kind of crazy, but, it is what it is. Like I said, he would run the Raw division easily. He would be the longest reigning WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And he's a student of the game. You can't, that's just something about MJF that you can't really hate on. He said he watched an Elimination Chamber, and he said all those other, jackholes that said they did not watch Elimination Chamber and said, I only watch AEW, all the AEW wrestlers, I don't watch WWE. It's a lie, and if it's not a lie, then you're stupid. You have to be a student of the game. And he was praising how WWE turned John Cena heel. And he said it was a big moment. And then on AEW Dynamite, you saw MJF wearing a shirt that said MJF did nothing wrong. Kind of reminds you of when Kevin Owens was wearing a shirt during his little stint, during his little feud with Cody Rhodes about Kevin Owens was right or something like that. They play off each other. Professional wrestling, they look at something. Can Kevin Owens kind of be like an MJF? Yeah, I feel like he can. Kevin Owens definitely, he does have the mic skills. He's funny. He does have he doesn't, not really necessarily the look of your standard professional wrestler. But, Kevin Owens, he's loved a lot. He's loved a lot, 1,010%. Much like, MJF. MJF, he's loved a lot. He's liked. Backstage in AEW, he's one of the most likable wrestlers. Backstage in AEW, traveling and stuff like that. He's the more or less just the cornerstone. He's the most reliable to kind of, Tony Khan would be like, okay, I need this and that and the other. This show needs to be hot, out of the water. Fans need to want to, jump out of their, out of their pants. They want to literally grab their wallet and pay for the next 6 to 7 AEW PLEs from pay-per-view. We want that debit card jumping out of their wallets, spending it. I'm just kidding. No, but overall, that's what MJF literally can do for wherever he is. Wherever he loves wrestling. So I definitely thought that was pretty awesome. Some of the highest paid wrestlers in professional wrestling. We'll start with WWE. We have Drew McIntyre sitting at about $8 million a year, which is pretty. That's a lot of money. Seth Rollins at $9 million. Randy Orton literally signing he signed a contract last year to become the highest paid wrestler in professional wrestling history. Salary wise, I believe, but yearly it seems like he's making about $10 million. Cody Rhodes $10 million as well. Roman Reigns at $15 million. AEW paying Jon Moxley $6 million. Chris Jericho $5 million. Mercedes Moné $5 million. Kazuchika Okada $4.5 million. Kenny Omega $3 million. And MJF rumored to be getting paid $15 million plus. Wow. That's a lot of quiche. It's a lot of quiche. But literally, if you're Tony Khan, what choice do you have? What choice do you have? You cannot lose MJF. You can't lose MJF. You lost Cody Rhodes. You lost CM Punk. You lost about 500,000 viewers weekly on Dynamite. It's no bueno. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. You literally had to go from selling out stadiums like AEW Revolution could have been like at a ballpark or something like that, and Crypto.com Arena could have been the Dynamite before Revolution, but because you lost all your top talent, man, now you're sick to selling out like little theaters. Like I said, which isn't bad. Which is cool, I don't mind that whatsoever because I'm a little theater kind of guy. But you're not drawing in those big numbers anymore. You're just not. You lost a lot of your talent based on backstage politics. Tony, I get it. He's the age where he is. I used to manage a restaurant, and when you're the same age as somebody, or you're younger than somebody, and you're put in a predicament, you're put in a spot where you have to delegate, where you have to tell them what to do. You have to tell them what they're doing wrong. Although, I've been doing this for years and nobody's telling you what to do. People have been doing this for, sometimes you got to be the bad guy. And, a lot of people, they love their boss. They love Tony Khan backstage. They love him. But, sometimes like Triple H, you're not necessarily going to be the most liked, but you have to be the most respected. So maybe a little bit had to do with a little bit of backstage politics. Why Cody Rhodes, who helped you start AEW, a person that would help you start a company, you'd be like, damn, I don't think that person would ever leave that company that he helped start. Guess what? He left. CM Punk never returned into WWE. Like Seth Rollins said, every single time he had a chance to torch it down, he was hoping to torch it down, with the fans chanting CM Punk. He was hoping, that Vince McMahon would, run WWE into the ground, which he was damn near going to do. But it's, I don't want to call it the luck of the draw because I do believe in luck. I do. Sometimes I do feel like you create your own luck. But, they lost a lot of top guys. And, sometimes you kind of have to look in the mirror a little bit. But I feel like that's, like I said, a huge reason why they signed MJF to such a huge contract. He's only 28 years old. He's going to be the future of All Elite Wrestling. And at this point, they definitely, they need him to continue to be absolutely awesome. And if anybody could pick up a huge contract, MJF would be definitely it in All Elite Wrestling. All right, guys, so we do not go anywhere. We got one final segment, and I'll let you guys out of here. Ran super long today. Totally apologize. We're going to talk about WWE Evolved. It aired live on Tubi Wednesday night. We're going to go through some of the overall content, some of the characters, and storylines, future storylines. Who's going to make it out, and who's going to be crowned the champion probably later on down the line. So grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage, and join me here in about 25 seconds. So hey, do not go anywhere. And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time, uploading some wrestling content, so make sure you guys check back on the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast.com on YouTube. Also, make sure you guys tune into my one weekly live show, Monday Night After Raw. We talk about Raw. We talk about a lot of stuff happening within the wrestling world. We talk about, pay-per-views that happened over the weekend. We talk about things that are going to happen over the week. We talk about, superstar and active statuses, also injury updates, their contract negotiations, extensions, and new signings. We talk about promotions like WWE, to AEW, to Game Changer Wrestling, to Deathlock Professional Wrestling, to the NWA, if it makes major news in the world of professional wrestling. We talk about it here on this show, 1,010%. So thank you to everybody definitely tuning in. Definitely feel comfortable 1,010% participating in the chat. Definitely would love to hear from you guys, my wrestling peeps. So without further ado, let's talk about our fifth and final segment. We have WWE Evolve. I watched it. It's pretty good. It wasn't bad. It's an hour show. I definitely liked how they started off, talking about how this is going to be the next, evolution. Shawn Michaels, having to play on words a little bit. They showed characters like Drew McIntyre. Cody Rhodes means that, it kind of showed the audience to be like, hey, honestly, you should pay attention because, you can see a lot of these guys, eventually wind up on the main roster and make a immediate impact like Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes did. Of course not, it had to take Drew and Cody both to kind of take a step away and go to, independent wrestling circuits to make a name for themselves. But eventually come back and kick ass and take names and become WWE champions. I thought it was going to go head-to-head with AEW, but it was only an hour show. We were able to kind of keep watching, Dynamite, as soon as it was over streaming on HBO Max. So, overall, that's, that was pretty cool. But, one of my pet peeves that, I read on Reddit and I read a lot of, WWE fans kind of ran into this problem was that, when you sign into Tubi and then you're trying to find WWE content, it doesn't give you an option to just right on, just like click the link, you know what I mean? Like if you go to WWE Netflix, it says streaming live Monday Night Raw. They didn't have that for Evolve. There was also a lot of, in my opinion, I don't know if it was probably standard. Maybe I'm just, complaining and stuff like that. I was going to use the B word. Sorry. I feel like there was a lot of ads. I do. Usually like I'm, used to kind of fast forwarding and be like, oh, you have 1 or 2, 3 ads to do this and that and the other, obviously, like, Hulu and stuff like that. But this one was like 6. It was like 6. I was like, damn, like 6 ads. And I was like, okay. Relatively like the same time. Like I said, maybe I'm just complaining. Maybe I'm just being, maybe I just hate advertisements. But, it was all right. It was all right. Just shut up, Eric, and, appreciate these fine, amazing wrestling talents. You had Shawn Michaels and Ava, the general manager of WWE NXT, come out to introduce some of the stars, talk to them about what exactly they are fighting for. Peter Rosenberg and Stone, I forgot his first name, damn it. Josh? No, I'm thinking about Josh Matthews. What was his first name? No. But Stone, obviously the assistant for Ava during WWE NXT. And I gotta be honest, I dig Rosenberg. I do. I loved it. I loved him, on the mic. I was, kind of listening to what he had to say, and I was like, dude, like, this guy belongs on the commentary. Like, he's better than Corey Graves. He's better than Wade Barrett. He's better. Well, Pat McAfee's not really expected to be like like one of those like play-by-play. He more or less just kind of speaks his mind. But obviously not better than Michael Cole, Joe Tessitore, and Peter Rosenberg in terms of commentating. Like these guys are like equal. Peter Rosenberg kicked ass. Like it was cool. It was awesome. So we had our first match. We had the former cheerleader Carly Bright teaming up with Kendall Gray, taking on Danny Palmer and Callie Armstrong. This match was actually this was pretty badass. I definitely liked 1,010% how how they had a casual setup. I definitely like that. I didn't like how they tried to make it, too like in your face. And something that I definitely loved that WWE did was under the screen, you had them constantly, I would say it was probably like every 5 minutes, you had them reminding the audience of who exactly are you watching, because not a lot of people are going to know who Carly Bride is. No one's really going to know who Kendall Gray, Danny Palmer, and Kylie Armstrong. So I kind of liked them constantly putting that little like score bug on the bottom of the page. So I definitely thought that was pretty awesome. Callie has a nice MMA background. You could see it within her performance. She's been fighting since she was 12 years old. That's amazing. That's awesome. 1,010%. Danny Palmer. Oh my God. Absolutely athletic. That corkscrew backflip, although she did her own teammate. Impressive. She was great. She was great at 1,010%. I loved definitely, Kendall Gray. Kendall Gray, like I know when she was in NXT a couple times, she did fight in TNA. But on this show, she looked like she was like the real deal. She looked like she could literally be the next like Alexa Bliss. She was able to, kind of show the fans that like, yeah, I'm a bad bee and I'm not afraid to, be outspoken. Once when they won the match, you had her and Carly Bride. Carly Bride was like, all giddy, like, yes, we won! Oh my God, you're amazing! And then Kendall Gray was like, I love that heel factor at Kendall Gray. I thought that was it seems like it's literally right up her alley. 1,010%. She would be an amazing, absolutely 1,010% an amazing heel champ. And Callie Armstrong too. I definitely love how at the end of the show she came out showcasing how WWE NXT has really showcased and has really depended on the women's division to kind of anchor the show. So it was kind of cool to see Armstrong. It was great to see Kendall Gray. Definitely two women that I think will be fighting for that Evolve Women's Champion to make their way into WWE NXT. But once again, it just shows how, these girls, the women's division anchor WWE NXT, and it's going to anchor, the bottom of the, on the bottom like the LFG, also the NIL, the WWE ID, and it's not going to change whatsoever. So I definitely thought that was pretty cool. Thought it was badass. I'm excited to see this product. But overall, these women, all four women, the first ever, tag team women's match to kick off the Evolve WWE product, platform, whatever you like to call it. But overall, just a huge round of applause for all these women, and I would definitely love to see them in WWE for the future. Next, we get a nice little, swipe right. We get a swipe right, like little vignette here, and they said, man, God, they were talking some massive crap, dude. Tossing, they even said your mother. They said my mother swiped right on them. That is, that's barbaric. These young men need to leave. I'm just kidding. No, it was funny. It was super cool. It was awesome. I love these guys. I definitely, they're also known in the independent wrestling circuit. I definitely, I like Swipe Right. They're pretty badass. Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes seem like they are the future. I did like Jackson Drake as well. We'll talk about the main event later. But, Swipe Right seems like they could definitely... They're like a better version of... How could I say it? They're like a better version of... Not A-Town Down Under, because, no offense to Austin Theory or Grayson Waller. I feel like it's a little... I feel like that's kind of downplaying. I'm just kidding. No, not trying to be mean. Not trying to be mean. But overall, Swipe Right seems like they're going to have a future. Luca Cristofino, part of the family. Part of the D'Angelo family. He was in the VIP section. And I like Luca being there. I do, 1,010%. You don't really see him getting a lot of love on NXT. You see him in tag team bouts with Stacks, but he seems like more of a singles wrestler. And I don't know if it's because I have seen him perform in the ring, a couple of times. I personally think it would be more beneficial for Luca Cristofino to be not exclusively, because obviously he's going to be, during the promos and the vignettes of the D'Angelo family, having wine and, talking about the family. Like, it's going to be cool and nice to kind of have him, sitting at the table next to the Don. But to have him wrestle inside the ring, I want to see Luka totally pop off in Evolve. I want to see him kick ass. Definitely, 1,010%. Next, we have Keanu Carver in a smash match taking on Trill Williams. Trill London is his real name. Trill Williams is pretty badass, though. I got to be honest, I saw Trill Williams when they kind of showed how, him on Instagram and stuff like that. I was like, dude, isn't that kind of close to Trick Williams? But then they named him, Trill London. But I feel like Trill Williams is a lot better. Keanu Carver coming from the streets. And he absolutely 1,010% showcased. It was pretty badass. It was kind of cool. Troy Williams, a former NFL cornerback, he was inspired by Jeff Hardy. You saw a lot of Jeff Hardy from Trill London. You kind of saw just the way he, and I know this might sound stupid, but I feel like only WWE or wrestling fans in general will understand this. Even the way he was thrown around the ring, even the way he was getting his ass kicked, it looked good. Like, it looked like it was like Jeff Hardy getting his ass kicked. That's how good this kid is. So even though he lost, I thought it was pretty badass. I want to see him bounce back next week or this week on Evolve. I definitely feel like he would be he'd be a nice little starter. But Keanu Carver, a guy you don't want to mess with, an absolute badass. I can't wait to see what he can do in the future. But yeah, when I saw Luca Crusifino, I gotta be honest, I was like, dude, you know what? He would be amazing in Evolve. I was thinking maybe Javon Evans, maybe Kehlani Jordan. Imagine Fatal Influence coming down to Evolve. And, by all means, I really don't think of it as a demotion. I don't, because you're stuck in these talent pools from WWE, whether if you're getting smashed on NXT or if you're getting smashed on Evolve every Wednesday night. Does it really matter, like, what you're really doing here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, right now, SmackDown and Raw, they are in desperate need of a women's tag team division. No doubt whatsoever. Women's division, it could be better. So right now is the time for a lot of these young talents to go absolutely take any opportunity they can. Any opportunity, 1,010%, and go out there and showcase exactly what they're going to do, how exactly they're going to benefit your company, but most importantly, how exactly are they going to get the butts inside the seats, selling tickets, selling merchandise, being just a huge part of the WWE universe. And I feel like, after what I watched on Evolve, I got to be honest, I kind of went in there with like a heavy head. I went in there with like a heavy heart. I walked in there and I was, literally like I sat down on the table and I put on my television. I was like, do I want to watch Evolve? Do I really? You know what? Let's do it. Downloaded Tubi, waiting for Tubi to get in, I was expecting like a lot of like botches, a lot of miscues, a lot of like, them waiting for someone to hit him or, waiting for someone to grab him. But they were professional as hell. They literally looked like they belonged on NXT. And I was like, holy shit, holy crap. I was like, dude, like, this is badass. This is awesome. This is like something new, raw. I feel like for me, maybe I might be a little bit too excited about this, but the way it was so successful in their first, Evolve's first attempt on, on cable television or on, streaming services or whatever. Maybe they shouldn't go with just like a plain setup, with like the family members standing on the outside and, their fellow peers standing on the outside. Maybe you should actually make this into like a, early like Ring of Honor, early, like early TNA kind of setup, and then maybe you get some of like, you get like a WWE like TNA, like early, like, imagine seeing somebody from WWE Evolve on TNA, and it's 1,010% possible, which makes it so cool. I would, definitely, Evolve was, definitely pretty awesome. And the main event was pretty great. Main event was amazing. I got to be honest, there's a lot of shining stars. Jackson Drake, Swipe Right, the team of Brad Baylor, Ricky Smokes, going up against Cappuccino Jones, Jack Cartwheel, and by all means, I feel like this guy's going to make it out of NXT and probably make it onto the Raw roster or SmackDown. Shawn Legacy. So impressive. So impressive. Absolutely 1,010%. I really couldn't, this main event was was great, and it did wonders for, although although there has to be a winner and although there has to be a loser, these 6 men went in there, showcased their talent. These men went in there not really kind of like being like, and you can see that chemistry. You can see that chemistry backstage. That's the power of social media during this digital era of professional wrestling. They post stuff backstage on Twitter/X where they literally are. They're pumping each other up. They're being friends, but at the same time competitors. They're happy for each other to go out there and like, okay, I'm gonna put this move over, and you're gonna do that, and you're gonna look so freaking cool, man. It's going to be absolutely hypnotic. It's going to be absolutely chaotic. And guess what? The fans are going to eat it up like it's Thanksgiving dinner. And that's exactly what happened on WWE Evolved. Great episode, great first episode. These 6 men, Cappuccino Jones, Jack Cartwheel, and Sean Legacy, Jackson Drake, and Swipe Right, the team of Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes. I'm mesmerized. I want to see more. I can't wait to watch on Wednesday. I literally went to going, I went from, stumbling upon Evolve, Wednesday night, kind of like waiting for Dynamite to start. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, do you really want to download another app on your TV, Eric? Do you want to download Tubi to watch these guys? Because like I said, I was walking in there totally negative Nancy over here. I was going at it. I was like, dude, I don't want to see kids just botch moves and, miscues and stuff like that. I don't want to see that. And I was like, yeah, why not? Why not? I turned on the TV, and I was blown away. I got to be honest. These young kids are going to be amazing. And Peter Rosenberg, an amazing future WWE commentator here. Him on Evolve, got to be honest, he fits pretty damn well. But overall, huge round of applause, paying respects to these young, amazing talent that are going to absolutely make a name for themselves in the wrestling world. And for me, I can't wait till Wednesday. These guys, they literally got me hooked. I didn't think WWE can do it. Like I said, I watch NXT, Monday Night Raw, TNA, Ring of Honor, Dynamite. I try my best to kind of catch, some, New Japan Professional Wrestling. And then I, found out about these, like literally these kids are going to be fighting on Evolve on Tubi. Oh, is that the free television app for everybody? Is that the free television? Yeah. Why don't you download it? Check out WWE Evolved Wednesday nights. And I'm hooked. I can't wait to see more. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed my show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan, bidding you adieu. Remember, I'm live every Monday night, 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time on the GSMC Sports Network. So just remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show, and all your dreams will come true. Also, 1,010%. Make sure you guys check out all the other podcasts here. We have all around sports podcasts, from baseball, football, basketball, hockey, soccer, you name it. Make sure you guys check out all those other guys. They're enthusiastic, charismatic, and very, very knowledgeable about their subject matter that in terms in sports. And guess what? It's 1,010% FREE free. Hope you guys are geared up. Have an amazing, amazing Monday night. Hope you guys are having a fun, safe, loving weekend. We got St. Paddy's Day coming next Monday. Can't wait to be with you guys during St. Paddy's Day. But stay beautiful. But most importantly, as always, love you.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow. Feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit and the coffee ain't